What's up, fellow Harmonic traders? Welcome back to Track the Harmonic, your go-to destination for everything harmonic technical analysis. I'm your host, Lord MC, and in this exciting video, we'll dive into what to expect in the upcoming week with a laser focus on earnings, and oh boy, do we have some major ones on the horizon. Before we get started, I have some fantastic news to share with you. Recently, I've been working tirelessly to develop my own indicator called TTH patterns. This indicator is capable of generating harmonic dragon and swamp patterns, which are some of my favorite patterns, providing invaluable insights into the market's potential reversal moves. And here's the best part. For the remainder of this month, I'm offering a free trial to TTH indicator to all our valued Discord subscribers. So if you want to enhance your trading game with these powerful patterns, make sure to grab your free trial today. As a way of giving back to the incredible community, certain tier members of our Discord family will be granted free access to the full version of TTH indicator once the free trial is over. So consider joining our Discord group to unlock this exclusive perk. So I'm going to give you some examples here for what this indicator is capable of doing here. So this is the SPX chart on the daily. As you can tell, it generated a white swan pattern, which caught the June lows here, and it went past PT1, PT2, and it created the August highs there. It also generated a second white swan pattern, which was able to catch the October lows here. This is where the market was at new 52-week lows, and it went past PT1, PT2, and obviously on and so forth. And most recent, it did generate a bearish white swan pattern here at the completion of point D here back in May, and it came down, hit these targets at PT1, PT2, and below. I also wanted to share here for the NASDAQ, which I found quite interesting that it actually generated this pattern at exactly when they announced the COVID lockdowns here. It caught the bottom, went past PT1, PT2, and obviously the market decided to make new all-time highs, which then generated a bearish white swan pattern, which was able to catch exactly at the top of the 52-week new all-time highs, right? So it generated this pattern, and it went past PT1, PT2, and below. So this indicator works on all time frames from the 1 minute to the month, and I'm going to quickly share with you another ticker here that I personally benefited from, and this was the bullish black swan off of AI, where it generated this black swan at the completion of point D at $31 all the way to PT2 here at 42.26. So I've showed you the black swan, I've showed you the white swan, I've yet to show you the dragon pattern, and we're going to jump over to Tesla on the 3-day, where it did generate a bullish dragon pattern at the completion of point D here all the way back last year in February. It went from 233 all the way past PT1 at 298, then PT2 at 337, where it actually came above 2385. So if you are interested in trying the free trial, I am going to be providing the link to the Discord in the description box below, but I do want to preface that the TTH indicator is intended for educational purposes only. It is designed to provide you with valuable insights and analysis, empowering you to make your own informed trading decisions. However, it is very important to understand that trading in stocks, cryptos, or any other financial instrument carries inherent risk. However, I strongly advise you to exercise caution and conduct your own due diligence when making your own trading decisions. TTH indicators should be used as a tool to support your own analysis and not as a sole basis for your trading strategies. And you understand that any information provided from the TTH indicator is not investment advice. So we've got a riveting week lined up with earnings reports from some big players like Tesla, Netflix, and TSM, which is a Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing company, which will give us maybe some insight as to if NVDA, AMD, and other semiconductors are going to report some good earnings, as well as we have the continuation of bank earnings. So if you're excited as we are for the week ahead, make sure to have that notification bell turned on so you never miss a single update from me. So without further ado, let's jump right into the action. Don't forget to like and share this video if you find it valuable. So let's go over to SPY and see how we finished on the daily here. Let me turn back my HPC combo indicator as well. So SPY did have a bullish week. It closed on Friday at 451.36. The low was 448.49 before closing the day at 449.28. Off of this bullish crab pattern, it did almost it did hit 451.17, right? I believe so. Let me just zoom in here. Yep, 451.17 was hot. So this is the ideally where you might start reversing here. You did generate an HSI dot, but obviously it went to create a higher high there at 451.17. So right now I'd be expecting a potential reversal to the downside if it should get one, as the RSI is a bit over overbought right now, but the HSI still maybe have some room up there to stay above 451. If I bring out my drawings here, I personally have a level here at 453.67. Should that be the next target it finds resistance at? So right now you did generate a potential just decision candle there. There's volume there. I do think we're going to have some volatility, especially with earnings as well. So if we look over to the weekly chart, mind the drawings, you did generate a bullish engulfing candle, right? So I do believe if we are able to get above 453, then I would look at the I believe this would be the 886 retracement of this pattern, this deep crab around 462. So if you break above 453.67, I'd be looking up at that next target around 463 and then possibly all-time highs. That's an engulfing candle with increase in volume, so we'll definitely see if there's more continuation to the upside. If we look at the daily, if you get rejected from hop, the next level of support would be probably at around 440, maybe 446 or 45 at the top of the entrance of that gap, and maybe they find support where the 90 EMA is around 444. So unless, in my opinion, unless it loses that level, the last level of support, which would be very significant for SPY to lose, would be the 21 EMA here at 439.62. Should you lose that, you come back down to XA here at 436, and then maybe down the line you complete that type 1 reaction all the way to 419. But it's too early to tell. I think earnings is going to give us some insight of what the market wants to do moving forward. Jumping over to the triple Qs here. So the triple Qs did generate, it went as high as 382.86. The low on Friday was 378.18 before closing the day at 379.07. So this did generate a bearish candlestick here with a potential reversal candle incoming that this is maybe displaying here on the chart here for the daily. So what can we expect here to the downside should this be a reversal candle? The next level I'd be looking at here, I do think there is a gap here, so I'm just going to quickly draw this out. So if you don't hold support here at this 379 range, you could come back down all the way to 375, which is the top of the gap there, fill it at around 374 and change, test 372, and then if you fail that, you come back down to the test the 21 EMA here at 366.64, and then maybe finding support at 361. In my opinion, if you do lose a 21 EMA, you're going to potentially come back down all the way to BC here, maybe fill that gap and start a type 1 reaction to target 1. Right now, the RSI is a bit overextended. The HSI still may have some wiggle room. So what can we expect here for the NASDAQ? Should it find support? Off the weekly, you had an engulfing candle, right? So the weekly does have a bearish alt-bat pattern where it's approaching XA here at 387.11. Should you find more continuation to the upside and to find support above that, the next level would be hop at 403.57. As you can tell here from this white swan pattern, PT2 there, I know it's a little bit hard to tell. Let me just remove some of this. The next target there, it's calling 386, and then 408, and then 424 off of this bearish white swan pattern. So kind of similar over here to the same targets as this alt-bat pattern there. So we'll see if there's more continuation. The HSI, it is overextended right now off of the triple Qs on the weekly. The RSI, you're a bit overbought. So we'll see if there is a cooling period. Maybe you go to XA and then start reversing back down. So keep an eye out on the triple Qs. Jumping over to the Dow. So the Dow Jones did go as high on Friday as 345.92. The low was 344.51 before closing the day at 345.17. I did say that if we were able to break above 343.09, the next level of resistance would be that 345.35 range. And as we could tell here from previous times here, we have had a little bit of rejection there. The last time we got rejected pretty hard, so we're at the same level. Should it find support and stay above 345.35, the next level I'd be looking at here to test is around 347 and change, and then maybe you come and test all the way up to 357. So I do have this range between 343 and 357. As you could tell, the last time you broke above this range here, you kind of just traded between here. You kind of had a false breakout. It came back down, right? So you like to trade between this range. So I do have a next level target on the macro here from 343 to 357. If we go over to the weekly, see how it ended here. It ended obviously on a bullish engulfing candle, which is a bullish candle to close on. So if there's continuation, you could go and see 357.74 as the HSI is flatlining here on the up above the midline. So we'll see if there is more continuation on the Dow Jones to the upside. But if you don't find support above 345.35, the next level I'd be looking at here is at 343.09. Maybe that's a test here right next to the 90 MA here on the daily at 342.51. If you do lose the 90 EMA here, the 21 EMA here around 340-ish, I think there's a possibility you can come back down to fill that type 1 reaction all the way down to 330.96. So we'll definitely keep an eye out on the Dow Jones. Jumping over to a new ticker here I'll be talking about, and that's the mid-cap stocks here for IWM, which did generate here a bearish bat pattern on Friday. It did go as high as 193.49 before the closing the day at 191.53. So right now, off of this pattern, you are slightly below XA here at 191.74. If there is more continuation to the downside, I'd be looking at 189 to see if it finds support. If it doesn't find that, I'd be looking at 186 and then potentially coming back down all the way to target 1 to complete that type 1 reaction at 183.67. Should you find support above 191.74, the next level I'd be looking to break is that $193.64 and change. There, if you break that, you could see 190. I believe there's 195 and then there's 198 on the, which is hopped for this bat pattern. If we go over to, you did break out, by the way. You did break out. You had off of the golden crosses here for the EMAs and the SMAs. You did break out of this range that it was stuck in for a long time. So right now it's maybe coming back to retest some support levels here, or the resistance levels that it broke out of. So what can we see here? I believe on the weekly, we do have a white swan pattern where you're slightly just having resistance there at that 193 and change. So we'll definitely see if there's continuation to the upside here for the mid-cap stocks. So I do believe, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I do think there is a potential there, rotation in sectors here to the mid-caps, but I could be wrong. Friday's volume definitely was significant for IWM because you did have an increase of selling pressure prior to Thursday's close. So if there's more continuation, you could come all the way back and retest maybe the breakout again and then find support and then continue back up. So it's still too early to tell. Jumping over to XLF here, which is the bank. So I think it's a good idea to be looking at the banks right now, with a lot of them reported earnings on Friday, and there's still going to be continuation into next week. So what can we expect here for XLF? You did have a breakout here, but you did have a bearish engulfing candle here on Friday. So the next level I'd be looking for to see if it doesn't find or hold support around these ranges here, you could come back down all the way down to target 1 at 33.75. And let me clear this out as this gap was filled. So if you could come back down to retest the breakout of the 200 EMA there. If you come back all the way, that's just slightly below target 1 here at 33.75. Losing that, you could come down to $32 and change, maybe fill the gap down below. If you find support off the 90 EMA, the next target I'd be looking at would be to break above this range here at 34.69, come back 35.61, and then maybe complete the type 1 reaction from this bullish shark pattern all the way to 36.34. So we'll definitely keep an eye out on XLF as banks are still reporting earnings into next week. Jumping over to XLE, which is very important because you had some bearish indicators here for the energy sector. So on Wednesday and Thursday, you tried to break above the 200 SMA there and you got rejected, and you had rejection on Friday with volume, right? So you did generate an HSI dot. You have this bullish sea crab on the daily where you did complete the type 1 reaction, and now you're coming back down. You did come back all the way down to XA here. So having resistance there at the 200 SMA and not being able to break above 82.51, if you lose the 50 EMA here at $80 and around $80.98, the next level would be looking at would be $79.90. Then you can come back down to test 76.45, and then maybe down the line you come all the way down to fill a gap there at 73 and then hop. Should you find support and break above, because you did lose the 200 EMA, you see broke out, bullish breakout, you could just be testing it and then finding support. And if you do find support off the 200 EMA, the next level I would like it to break above is 82.51. Come for that. There's also a black swan pattern where the black swan pattern did generate this reversal all the way down to P2. So you could come back for that type 2 return back up to CD there. So if you break above 82.51, I'd look at 83.01, 86, 87, and then 91. But we'll see if there's more continuation to the downside, because volume is increasing, so to the sell side. So we'll keep an eye on the energy sector. Jumping over to Apple here. So Apple has a bullish deep crab on the daily. You did come back and test last week all the way down to the 90 EMA. You found support. You generated an HSI arrow. So on Friday, you're still slightly above the 90 EMA. So far, Apple has found support, continued support off the 21 EMA, as we can tell back here. You can see all this time it just found support above the 21 EMA, and it continued to create a new higher high. So since this did test the 21 EMA here, this has a potential, again, if patterns repeat themselves, to be creating a higher high here. So the higher high, I do have that 198.93, and then this off of this bearish deep crab, you have hop there at 206.35. Should you not be able to find support off the 9 EMA here, where XA is at, or just slightly under 13 EMA here at 189.04, the next level to be looking at is to see if it finally loses at 21 EMA here, which is around 187.89. Should you lose that, you go to BC here at 185.24, and then 183. So it'll be dangerously pretty bad if Apple goes down to the 50 EMA at 181 and loses that, because you potentially will come back down to fill that gap here at 175, and then maybe go down to finish that type 1 reaction all the way to target 1 here at 167 and finish that gap there. So it's still too early right now to tell. The volume is kind of still on average, and it's respecting the 21 EMA. If we go over to the weekly to see how it did. Okay, so we'll see if there's more continuation. That is a reversal candle, so we'll see if there's more upside here for Apple to maybe create new all-time highs. So we're still that psychological number at 200. Jumping over to Microsoft here. So Microsoft did generate a bearish candlestick here on the daily. It went as high as 351.43. The low was 344.31 before closing the day at 345.24. So you had some significant selling pressure there for Microsoft at the end of the day. The HSI off this, I believe this is a bearish bat pattern, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, this bearish bat pattern. You did kind of double top here right at the all-time highs there. So if this is a double top, you could come back down to retest maybe the 90 EMA there at 345.24. Excuse me, 338.22. And then for the most part, when it comes to Microsoft testing the 21 EMA, it has lost the 21 EMA here back in April. Kind of found support just slightly above the 50. The most recent time it did break down here was back July, where it did lose a 21, but it generated another higher high. So if you do find resistance and you come back down and lose a 21 EMA here at 336, the next level to be looking at is at 330.41. And then the 50 EMA here at 325.37. You lose that, you could potentially fill this gap and maybe start a potential correction all the way down to target 1 at 272.45. Right now the HSI did cross the midline, so they could just be creating a higher high here. So if we jump over to the weekly, you have a bullish engulfing candle on the weekly with higher buying pressure than the previous week. So I will be looking at the next level here. If it can break above the highs here at 349.67, the next level I'd be looking is at 386.73, which is I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the 127% retracement. Yep. Of the previous all-time highs to the 52-week lows there. So maybe then if it breaks above 386, you have that psychological number as well at $400. So keep an eye out on Microsoft. Jumping over to Amazon. So Amazon on the daily did generate another reversal candle here for Amazon. So you went as high as, if I'm not mistaken, 136.65 for closing the day at 134.68. So you did generate a inverted hammer candle, which by definition is a reversal candle. So if it finds support continuation, it did finally fill the gap there. It finally broke out of 131. This 131 for Amazon was a key level to break out. It was just too much chop, and he finally got that with increase in volume on Thursday into Friday. So if there's more continuation, judging by the HSI, which still crossed the midline, and you could still reach that overbought zone, they could go up to 145.78 at hop here to complete the type to return to hop, and then maybe down the line come back down. But right now it is finding support. Should it not find support at this 134 range, which you could come back down to test that breakout of that $131 and change area, you could come back down to see and fill that gap. If you find support, then you might potentially start running again to hop there at 145. If we go jump over to the weekly here, on Amazon, you have a bullish bat pattern. The weekly does have target 2 here at 147.69. So if you can break above 145, the next level would be 147.69 for Amazon. You did slightly break and close above the 200 EMA, so you could come and retest those levels again before finding support to see if that actually was a confirmed breakout or not. To the downside, obviously, that 131.40 would be a key level. You lose that, you could come back down to the 21 EMA here at 129. 129, as you could tell here, back all the way down on May, you did lose the 21 EMA. You found support just slightly above the 50. So if you do lose the 21, you could come back to test anywhere between 122 and find support and then continue. So we'll definitely keep an eye on Amazon. Jumping over to Tesla here. So Tesla on Friday did go as high as 285.30 before closing the day at 281.38. So there is continuation. It did generate a new 52-week highs here. So what can we expect here for Tesla? If we jump over to the weekly, the next level I'd be looking at would be here off of this bullish bat pattern to complete that type 1 reaction at target 2 at 295.05. If you clear that, there's that psychological number at 300. So you got some bullish things going on with Tesla here. On the weekly RSI, you're a bit overbought. The HSI, you could also be generating an HSI arrow at any time. This candle here is a hammer candle on an uptrend, so it is a reversal candle. But we'll see if there's more continuation on Tesla. Should you not be able to hold above this range here, the next level I'd be looking at here is 274, and then there's another gap, small gap there, but there is a gap here. Maybe it fills a gap here at 265. If it fills the gap and it doesn't hold support there, then I'd be looking at 262 and then back to 253.80. So we'll definitely keep an eye out on Tesla. You did generate on Thursday and Friday increase in volume. The HSI does look like it wants to continue pushing up forward, so we'll definitely see if there's more continuation for Tesla. As well as the big thing with Tesla this week is that they are reporting earnings, so you could see a run before earnings, so it's definitely going to be very volatile for Tesla. Jumping over to Google here. So Google generated a doji candle on Friday with the high being 126.78 before closing the day at 125.42. So you do have this bearish bat pattern where you got rejected off XA at 125.92. So you did get some increase in buying pressure last week for Google. So if you can find support above 125.92, the next level to be looking at is to test the point D here at the high at 129, call it 130. If you break that, you could see a gap fill there at 132 and then maybe hop at 138.18. As the HSI starts climbing to the upside, you are not overbought, and I do think that overbought zone might be around that gap fill. So if you don't find support off of or stay above XA here, the next level you are going to potentially come back to test would be at 122.55, BC at 118.98, and then losing that would be significant. You coming down and fill that gap at 113, and then potentially finish that type 1 reaction off of this target 1 here at 111.58. For Google here, you had something interesting that it kind of invalidated. There was talks about a inverse cup and handle, as you could tell here. I'm just going to bring out my brush. This was a inverse cup and handle where you almost came down here, but it kind of invalidated. Didn't want to go any further, and it negated that. So definitely be interesting to see if there's more upside on Google, because right now Google has a definite engulfing candle where you did generate this bullish crab pattern, right? And this bullish crab pattern was calling for target 2 to complete that type 1 reaction, which it did hit right at target 2. So right now it's finding some resistance there off the weekly, but the weekly obviously increased in volume. So we will see if there's more continuation to the upside for Google here. Jumping over to Meta. Oh, so Meta here. Let me see if this actually filled the gap. It still hasn't filled the gap. So Meta is one unfortunate thing that I kind of hated myself for closing my position. But Meta is very bullish in my opinion. You are a bit overextended right now on the RSI, and the HSI looks like it is coming back down here. So that gap fill was kind of important. But if we jump over to the weekly, off of this beautiful bullish crab pattern, you went all the way down a hop and you generated just bullishness, and you have a potential golden cross on the weekly approaching here for Meta. So you did complete the type 1 reaction all the way to target 2, and you actually close above here at 302.07. I do think there is, you still have a potential to fill that gap because you still haven't filled it. Fortunately, still have a couple dollars there to fill, but if it does fill, the next level I'd be looking at would be at potentially there at 350, and then all-time highs at 383. So I'm going to keep an close eye on the weekly cross there, the golden cross. So that'd be kind of bullish if there's continuation, or that could have already been a lagging indicator and it already played out. So they have reported earnings at the last week of July, so we'll see if there's continuation to the upside. If there's no continuation to the upside, the next level I'd be looking at for support would be at 302. As far as finding support here, it's Meta has found support off the 9 EMA. So if it doesn't hold the 9 EMA here, the lowest point we could see it before finding support would be at 291, which create a higher low, find support at 291, and then continue to create a potential higher high. So we'll definitely keep an eye out on Meta. Jumping over to NVDA. So NVIDIA had a very bullish Friday. It went as high as 480.88, which was a target I was calling out on Friday that it would hit, have some resistance there. It went as high as 480.88. The low was 456 before closing the day at 454.69. So if this is a potential shooting star here for a reversal, the next level I'd be looking at for NVIDIA maybe to test that gap, close that gap around 439 and change, which is right slightly below the 90 EMA. And there's another tiny gap, hard to see, but there is another tiny gap. Should it not find support there, there's a tiny gap here around 427 and change. So if it's able to find support here at the top of that gap, what's the next level I'd be looking at here? There is I believe it's 493, which is the Fibonacci retracement from the previous all-time highs to the 52-week lows. That is the around 493, but you could call that a psychological number, as it may be a resistance there to that $500 range. If I just bring this Fib tool here to the 52-week lows, you can see 493.76 is actually the 1618, and then you have that psychological number there. So it's not that far off. I think NVIDIA has increase on the weekly. You had an increase in buying pressure there, so you're overextended on the RSI, but because you're overextended does not mean that you're going to continue to the downside. This could still have more upside, especially if TSM starts to potentially report good earnings. It could be a sympathy play and NVIDIA could still start running. They are also interested in being an anchor investor into the ARMS IPO, so that is bullish for the stock if they're able to get be an anchor investor there for ARM. So jumping over here to Netflix, I'm going to be covering Netflix because that's another ticker that is reporting earnings today, or excuse me, next week. So Netflix on Friday did generate a potential engulfing bearish candle there. So you did go as high as 456.48. The low was 439.70 before closing the day at 441.91. So if it doesn't find support here after 13 EMA, the next level to be looking at for Netflix would be 429.22. Losing that just slightly below the 21 EMA, you can come back all the way down to 412.67, 406, then 396. Fill that gap there around 384, and then maybe complete that type 1 reaction at 352.09. So right now you are about to test that midline of the HSI. So that's just slightly at the 13 EMA. As far as where Netflix has found support would be slightly above the 21 EMA. So you could come back down to 429 before you find a support. You create a higher low and then continue to push for a higher high. They report earnings, so we will see if there's more continuation to the upside for Netflix. If we go over to the weekly, you just have more indecision candles here. You do have a I believe, if I'm not mistaken here, yeah, it just didn't, I don't know why TradingView does this, but there is a gap to be filled here. So if you're able to continue to the upside, create a higher high, I'd be looking at 459 and then filling that gap at $507 and change. So if I go over to the weekly, there is that ABCD pattern there, where if you do manage to break above and fill this gap, the next level would be looking at 518, 555, and then potentially hop, and then you have all-time highs. So it's not too crazy to say that a bunch of these takers are coming and reversing everything they lost from their 52-week lows to potentially creating new all-time highs there. So you do also have a potential golden cross forming here for the weekly for Netflix. So if there's more continuation, obviously earnings is going to be playing a key role in that. So next thing, lastly, I'm going to cover here is Bitcoin. If we jump over to Bitcoin here, so Bitcoin on the daily, you did manage to get a breakout, but you got followed with a twin tower, obviously off the XRP news. You went all the way up to hop there at $31,868 there. So right now you did generate that reaction there off of that, and you are now again below OB. As of currently this Sunday, you're below OB here at 30,200. So if you find support off the 21 EMA, you want to come back up, reclaim 30,293, then back up to terminal at 30,800, and then see if it can continue breaking up above hop there. Hop is obviously a key level. You're still stuck in this range, so volume is at least on this push down has been on decrease in volume. The HSI did cross to the midline. If it doesn't find support off the 21 EMA here, Bitcoin, you could come back down and to that 29,200 range, and then maybe complete that type 1 reaction to 28,000. You did lose 30k during the week, so but it is finding support just above the 9 EMA there, so excuse me, the 21 EMA. So if you continue to find support there and you get a reversal candle to the upside, I'd be looking to see if you finally break above hop and maybe get up to the $32,000 range. On the weekly, we have this inverted hammer candle, which is a reversal candle, so it's kind of hard to tell, but you can see that there's a potential, this cup and handle there. So if there's any continuation on the 3-day chart, maybe generating or creating a potential bullish flag pattern here with a potential golden cross approaching on the 3-day. If you're able to hold above XA at 30,400, hop is at 34,785. If you don't, then yeah, there's a possibility you lose 30k and you come down to potentially do a type 1 reaction to 25,300 off the 3-day chart. So we'll see if there's more continuation to the upside for crypto as well. Having said that, that's all I have for you guys today. I will be streaming same time as always, 15 minutes before the bell. So if you want to catch me on that, I do stream stream live on Twitch. So link to my Twitch is in the description box below. So having said that, I hope you guys have a good rest of your Sunday, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody, and peace.